Lying off the west coast of Scotland is an island sometimes referred to as Scotland in miniature, as it offers a condensed version of Scotland's landscapes. There's so much packed into this relatively small island, from impressive mountains and glens, to beautiful beaches, to fascinating history. Join me as I explore the Isle of Arran. I booked my ferry to go from Ardrossan to the Isle of Arran about 5 or 6 days ago. When I tried to book the ferry online, it actually said there was no availability for around 2 weeks. They also limit the number of camper vans that can go over. However, I called the ferry company instead and I managed to get the 2 exact ferries that I wanted to go on at the dates and the times of my choice. So if you're planning to go to the Isle of Arran or a different Scottish island with the ferry company Calmac, I would suggest to call if you don't see the availability that you want on the website. This ferry terminal seems quite small. Looks like the vans and trucks are getting loaded on first. Wow, the colour of the sky is so beautiful this morning. Oh, really lucky with the weather. The ferry's actually a bit smaller than I expected. Oh, we're going on the ferry! This is so exciting. Quite a narrow ramp. Okay. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It reminds me a little bit of the Isle ferry. Made it on to the ferry. I can see Ailsa Craig in the distance. There's where we're going over there, the Isle of Arran. The Isle of Arran is Scotland's 7th largest island and has a population of around 5,000 people. It's one of Scotland's more accessible islands, as Ardrossan, where you catch the ferry, is located around a 50-minute drive from Glasgow and a 2-hour drive from the English border. The ferry to Brodick, the biggest village on the Isle of Arran, takes 55 minutes. I paid a total of £42.60 for a return trip for a camper van plus 1 passenger. The food on the Calmac ferries is great and I had a veggie sausage and tatty scone roll for breakfast. The crossing was very calm and before I knew it, we'd already arrived. There's all the people lined up ready to get on. Welcome to Brodick. We're on the Isle of Arran, woohoo! The scenery is amazing. Wow, it looks really mountainous. My first stop was the Arran Heritage Museum in Brodick to learn more about the island. It costs £5 to enter and the museum is in a restored 18th century farmhouse. It was a great place to start my time on the island as it has exhibits on the island's geology, archaeology, wildlife and local industries like farming and fishing. So the next stop is going to be the cheese shop. So the island is actually known for its cheese and inside they have lots of different flavours. I'm so excited to buy some cheeses to enjoy while I'm on the island. I've just come out of the cheese shop and here are my purchases. At the Arran cheese shop they have lots of different flavours of cheese available and there's even samples that you can try. So I tried a few of the samples and my favourite from all the samples was the smoky garlic cheese. There's actually another cheese producer on the island and they also sell the cheeses in the shop. So I got this Isle of Arran Camembert. There was also a brie and I believe a blue cheese as well. But this one looks really good. There's also a company called Woolies of Arran and they make oatcakes. I really like oatcakes. They're a traditional Scottish type of cracker and I'm going to have these later with my cheese. I'm actually pretty hungry, so while I'm in the car park of the cheese shop, I'm just going to have some of the cheese. Why not? Oh, they're mini oatcakes. Delicious. Oh, that's good. Quite a strong taste, but it's very creamy. It's the perfect consistency. If you come to Arran and you like cheese, this cheese shop is an absolute must visit. So good. Nearby the cheese shop is Brodick Castle, which can be seen on the Royal Bank of Scotland £20 note. I have driven around 10 minutes from Brodick, where I arrived, onto the Isle of Arran to a village called Lush. I really like the name of this village and there are a few things to see here, including a bakery which apparently sells delicious sausage rolls. I'm going to head there and check if they're open. So I went into the bakery and it is so busy in there. It is absolutely packed and loads of people waiting for takeaway. So it must be a good thing if it's so busy like that. I got a sausage roll for takeaway, which I will eat later on when I go for a walk. Over there in the distance is Holy Isle, and this is a really interesting place. From April you can go over on day trips to the island, and some people even do yoga retreats and different types of retreats over there. It looks really interesting. The area in front of me is called Lamlash Bay. During the Second World War and perhaps the First World War as well, it was used as a naval anchorage. And a family friend from Canada actually served here in the Second World War, and he sadly passed away last year, but in recent years he came back and visited here, and it was a very emotional experience for him to return here to Lamlash because he was here just as a young man serving with the Canadian Navy. While in the museum, I read about the Arran clearances and decided to visit the memorial in Lamlash. The clearances occurred in Scotland in the 18th and 19th centuries and involved the forced eviction of tenant farmers from their land by landlords, often to make way for more profitable land use like sheep farming or estate development. The clearances led to significant social upheaval, rural depopulation, and migration to urban areas or overseas. Many people who were forced to leave the Isle of Arran went to New Brunswick in Canada. The clearances is one of the most contentious topics in modern Scottish history, and the impact is still felt today, with ongoing debates about land ownership. It's been quite interesting to find out more about the Arran clearances. To be honest, this is something I didn't know that much about. It's probably a little bit like the First World War. I don't remember learning anything about that at school. It's incredibly sad what happened, and all these families had to leave Scotland, leave the Isle of Arran. If you went to school in Scotland, I'm interested to know if you learned about the clearances at school, because I don't recall learning about that. These are topics that I've learnt as an adult from self-study and my own personal interest. Now that I've finished exploring Lamlash, I'm going to head to a place called Whiting Bay, which is a little bit further south on the island. So before we head to the next place, I'd like to thank Beam for making it possible to film this video today. Even though I'm travelling a lot in the van, I like to take care of my health, and having a good night of sleep is a big part of that. I've always been someone who's struggled to fall asleep. I feel like when I lie down, I always seem to have a million things running through my mind. However, all of that has changed in the last few months thanks to Beam and their Dream Powder. This is my favourite flavour. It's the chocolate peanut butter, and it tastes a bit like a luxurious and delicious hot chocolate with added ingredients that contribute to a better night of sleep. It's also sugar and gluten free. There's no artificial flavourings, and it's keto and vegan friendly. It can be made with hot water or with milk. I love making mine with milk. It's so creamy and it's such a nice way to end the day. On the nights that I drink Dream, I feel like I have a much deeper night of sleep, and when I wake up during the night, which happens quite often when I'm travelling in the van, I feel like I can fall asleep much quicker again. If you're looking for a way to fall asleep, stay asleep and wake up feeling refreshed, then Beam's Dream Powder might be just what you need. If you click my link in the video description below, or scan the QR code on the screen just now, you can get 35% off your order of Beam's Dream Powder, and look forward to some great nights of sleep. Thanks again to Beam for sponsoring today's video. Now let's head to the next location. Made it to a place called Whiting Bay, and from here there is a walk that you can do up to a beautiful waterfall, and this is said to be one of the most beautiful waterfalls on the Isle of Arran, so let's go and check it out. So at the start of the walk there's actually this place that you can park, so that's really great, and then where the water is over there, that's where the hike starts. One thing I really love about being on an island is you're always so close to the sea. Even if you drive around the island, you're still really close to the sea. I love that. Here's the start of the hike, and there's some information and also a map. So I think I will do the hike that goes to the waterfalls and then to the giant's graves. it will take around 2 hours. So start here, up here, and then round here. This is what the start of the path looks like between these houses and alongside the burn there. It's so nice being in the wood here, walking alongside the river. Really, really beautiful here. So here's the sign for the waterfalls or the Giant's Grave. So I guess I'll be coming back via the Giant's Graves. And first I'm going to head to the waterfall. Wow, look at the amount of wild garlic. That is crazy. So I've arrived here at a small waterfall. This is not the main waterfall, but it's really beautiful. There were some comments on a previous video about what hiking boots I'm using. So actually I have 2 pairs of hiking boots, and it really depends on the type of walk that I'm doing and which hiking boots I use. So because this walk is quite hilly, I've opted to go for the boots that I tend to use when I hike on hills, and I'll show you them. These are the boots. These are called Dachstein. I believe they are an Austrian brand, and I bought these when I lived in Japan because I was hiking a lot of volcanoes in Japan, and these are really good for uneven and steep terrain. The other hiking boots that I am using are from a brand called Scarpa, and I don't know if that's a British brand, but the boots are made from leather, and I find that when I use those boots on hills I get blisters. I prefer to use them for more low-level hiking through woodland or a low-level long hike. I think I've just arrived at the waterfall. I can hear the loud sound of the waterfall. Wow! Glenashdale Falls is 45 metres tall, and it's the biggest waterfall on the Isle of Arran. While I'm here at the top of the waterfall, I'll have my sausage roll from the bakery in Lush. So I got the sweet potato sausage roll. Wow, that is so good. It's like a sweet potato curry inside, but it's not runny like a curry. Oh, it's delicious. I find it really odd that there's no signal here, because even when I've been to other islands in Scotland, very remote islands in Shetland and Orkney, I've been able to get phone signal, but there's just no phone signal here. Perhaps there's something wrong with the network today, or maybe Vodafone is not a good network to be on the Isle of Arran. And yes, some of you will be commenting straight away saying, can you not live without phone signal? Well, I like to have phone signal because I use it for the map when I'm driving around, and when I'm traveling somewhere to make videos. I've done a lot of research and I have all the places pinned that I want to go to, and I also have all the information about the places that I've researched in advance, which I've put into a Google document which has to be accessed online. So anyway, I've screenshotted all the things for the Isle of Arran, so it should be fine. The views from up here across to the Holy Isle are really spectacular, and then behind is mainland Scotland, I believe. I next walk to the Giant's Graves, which is an ancient burial site dating back to the Neolithic period, around 5,000 years ago. Wow, this is amazing. I love seeing these old Neolithic sites when I travel around Scotland. They're so fascinating. This kind of reminds me of the tomb that I visited in the Galloway Forest Park a few weeks ago. Wow, this is what it would have used to have looked like 5,000 to 5,700 years ago. Wow. There was no rain forecast for this afternoon, but it has started raining now. So I'm really happy that I decided to pack my waterproofs. As always, when you come to Scotland, remember your waterproofs. So I've now made it to a place called Kildonnan, and the views from here are spectacular. I've just parked up beside one of the most beautiful beaches here on the Isle of Arran. So I'm going to head down and then take in all the views. So behind me is the Isle of Plada and then Plada Lighthouse. So there's a Stevenson lighthouse on the Isle of Plada. And then further in the distance is the spectacular Ailsa Craig, one of the most special places in Scotland in my opinion. If you've watched one of my previous videos, I took a trip there, so definitely recommend you to check out that video. This beach is called Silver Sands and it's lovely here. In the distance I can see the Kildonnan Castle ruins. It was so lovely to go to the Silver Sands beach and see Ailsa Craig and the island in the distance. The weather's actually turned a little bit rainy, so I've decided to book a tour at the distillery here on the south of the Isle of Arran. It's called Lagg Distillery. However, I need to get going so I don't miss my distillery tour. Let's go. As I was driving, I came across a farm honesty shop. There's lots of fresh vegetables here. Wow, look at that kale. Oh, so many dogs. Cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Then inside there's potatoes. Is that leeks or spring onions? And it looks like there might be meat in the fridge. Oh yes, incredible. Here are all the prices. So I think I'm going to go for some eggs, 6 eggs and some kale. Here's the eggs, £2.60 for the eggs. Wow, these are big eggs. Oh, I wonder if the dog is for sale as well. At the Honesty Veg shop, I got the kale and it's a huge big stalk like this. The farmer was telling me that he used to grow kale for the sheep, but now humans seem to enjoy eating kale, so he sells it at the Honesty shop. I've arrived here at Lagg Distillery in the pouring rain. Let's go inside. On the Isle of Arran, there are 2 whisky distilleries, and both are owned by the Isle of Arran distillers. Lagg Distillery is the newer of the 2, and it opened in 2019. It's focusing on producing peated whiskies. To legally be called Scotch, whisky has to mature in an oak cask for a minimum of 3 years. Many distilleries choose to sell gin during this 3-year waiting period, as it's quick to produce. However, interestingly, Lagg Distillery has planted apple trees to make cider and apple brandy instead of joining the trend of making gin. I finished the tour at the Lagg Distillery. I really like the name of this distillery. So it's quite a new distillery and it's very modern. I did the tour that cost £15. There's more extensive tours if you want to do extra tastings, but as part of the tour you get the dram to take away. So this is the Lagg Kilmorey, and also a glass, and I really like this glass. I think the shape is really interesting. I haven't seen dram glass like this shape before, so that'll be nice to add to my collection. The Kilmorey is 46% alcohol and I believe it's 50 ppm. So ppm is how peaty the whiskey is. The higher the ppm, the more peaty the whiskey tastes. So I can really smell the peat when I open it up. Looking forward to trying this. As you can probably tell, it does look quite light compared to other whiskies. So because Lagg is quite a new distillery, the whiskey hasn't aged for many years. So some of the other distilleries, I've tried samples that are 10 years or 15 years, sometimes even 20 years. So usually the colour is darker, and then some distilleries are also adding colouring to make it look darker. But this is why it looks light, because it's only been in the cask for 3 years. Inside the distillery they do some tastings, so if you're there visiting and you're not driving, you can do some tastings of whiskey inside the distillery. However, there's no driver's drams available. I only got this one because I did the tour. There are some miniature bottles available inside the shop, but they are from the other distillery, which is the sister distillery on the Isle of Arran. I stayed the night at the Bridge End campsite near Blackwaterfoot. So last night I slept really well at that campsite. It was really great. And this morning me and the Kale have woken up bright and early, and I'm going to be heading to see a very interesting place here on the Isle of Arran. So I actually read about this online and it's connected to a place that I visited a few weeks ago. So really looking forward to seeing what it's like. Let's get going. So this is the start of the walk to the King's Cave. It will be a 3-mile walk. There is the map of the loop just there. This is what the path looks like to the King's Cave. To be honest, I actually woke up quite late today. There's so many things I want to do today, but yesterday I woke up at 3:30 a.m. for my alarm. I had to drive to Ardrossan to catch the ferry at 7 a.m. over to Arran. I had a good sleep last night and got my coffee here, so should be okay. While I was driving along the south of the island yesterday, I noticed quite a lot of potholes. So that's just something to be aware about if you come, especially with maybe a newer vehicle or a big camper van. And the potholes are not just a problem here on the Isle of Arran. In many parts of Scotland, there is a big issue with potholes at the moment. It would be nice if the pothole problem in Scotland was resolved and these potholes were repaired. I'm not so sure the reasons why. Maybe the local councils don't have money to do that. But if anyone knows more information about the reasons why, please let us know, because I'm interested to know why. So I've been walking for around 30 minutes and I finally made it down to the seafront, and there is the King's Cave. Wow. Wow, this cave is so impressive. It's really nice. Wow, you can stand in here and see views over into the distance. I believe that's the Kintyre Peninsula that you can see out there. If you're interested in the Kintyre Peninsula, I made a whole video about it, which I will link and you can watch. It's a really nice part of Scotland that's not very touristy at all. I believe this is the cave where Robert the Bruce saw a spider trying to make a web. It was failing and failing and failing, and then eventually it managed to make that web. After seeing the spider make the web and fail, Robert the Bruce got the inspiration and motivation to continue trying to get independence for Scotland. Eventually there was success at Bannockburn. The King's Caves are a series of natural sea caves located along the coastline of Arran. According to local legend, Robert the Bruce sought refuge in these caves while on the run from his enemies in the early 14th century. These caves are named after him. Ah, so this is actually the King's Cave here, not the previous cave that I was inside. I've just come into the cave. Wow, it is so impressive. It's absolutely massive. Wow, this place is so impressive. It's unbelievable that the King of Scotland stayed in here. How incredible. At the back of the cave here, there are these two hollows. Maybe that's where Robert the Bruce slept. Has anyone ever thought about living in a cave? I think it'd be quite a nice place to live actually. Much more spacious than a camper van. A short drive from the King's Caves are the Machrie standing stones, one of the top sites on the Isle of Arran. So I've now arrived at the car park for the Machrie Moor standing stones, which is one of the top things to do here on the Isle of Arran. From here, it's a 1.9 kilometre walk ahead up there. So I did check on Google Maps and it looks like it's maybe a 20 to 25 minute walk to reach the stones. Let's go. So if you come to the Isle of Arran, something just to be aware about is that quite a few of these sites that I've been to see do require walking. The waterfall yesterday, for example, the King's Caves, going to the standing stones. So if you're someone who doesn't enjoy walking or perhaps has some challenges with doing a lot of walking, then it's just something to be aware about. So I've arrived here at the Moss Farm Road Stone Circle. Look at that view over there. That is unbelievable. So the Machrie Moor standing stones are still 1 kilometre further on. So this is what the Moss Farm Stone Circle looks like. Just a few smallish stones, 4,000 years old. To be honest, before I wasn't that interested and I wouldn't ever stop to look at a stone circle or pay much attention to them. But since going to Orkney, I've actually become quite interested in these Neolithic structures. I learned a lot from my trip to Orkney about Neolithic history, and it's really, really interesting. There's a stone circle just here, but I don't think this is the Machrie Stone Circle. I think it's a little bit further on. But what's interesting about this point here is that it's really quite mountainous, which is very impressive. And just over there, I believe that is Goatfell, the highest peak on the Isle of Arran. Wow. The scenery is really amazing and the weather today is so lovely. I've just made it to the standing stones, and although it was a bit of a walk, it was definitely worth it. These are really impressive. I really want to emphasize the size of these. So I'm 5'3", which is around 160 centimeters. And The size of this is absolutely massive. Where did the people even find these stones? And how did they even lift them up? They must have needed so many people to lift these stones up and put them in these positions. The Machrie standing stones date back to the Neolithic era, around 4,500 years ago. While their exact purpose remains uncertain, it's believed they were used for religious or ceremonial gatherings by the prehistoric people of the island. I was just driving up the west side of Arran. The weather is so nice, it's so beautiful. And as I was driving, I spotted some seals sunbathing on the rocks. Let me show you. I don't know if you can see the seals, they're just on the rocks over there. So I just pulled up here and had a little bit of lunch. I had the oatcakes and the cheese, the leftovers from yesterday. But wow, I'm really impressed with the west side of the Isle of Arran overlooking Kintyre. It's really magnificent. The sun is out today a little bit. It's sort of trying to make its way through the clouds, which is really nice. I continued my drive around the island and spotted some people doing the Arran Coastal Way, a 65-mile circular walking route around the Isle of Arran. The island is divided into highland and lowland areas by the Highland boundary fault, which runs diagonally across it. As I drove towards the north side of the island, I started noticing a lot of beautiful mountainous scenery. As I drove into the village of Lochranza, I spotted Lochranza Castle, which dates back to the 13th century and sits on a scenic peninsula jutting into the bay. From Lochranza, there's a small ferry running over to the Kintyre Peninsula, and the village is also home to the Lochranza Whisky Distillery. I've just now arrived at the Lochranza Whisky Distillery in the north of the island, and I haven't booked a tour this time, but I'm going to go in and see if they have any miniature bottles. Until the 19th century, Arran was renowned for its malt whisky, often produced illegally and known as Arran water. The Lochranza Distillery, established in 1995, became the island's first legal distillery in over 150 years. I really enjoyed going to visit the Lochranza distillery in the village of Lochranza. So I was speaking to one of the ladies inside that distillery, and it was quite interesting because she said that this distillery, they're focusing more on the non-peated whiskies now, whereas the Lagg distillery, they're going to be more focused on the peated whiskies. So I picked up some samples, of course. So we have here the Arran 10-year. So this is a non-peated whiskey. I've seen lots of people recommend this online as being a good whiskey, so definitely had to give this one a try. I also picked up this one, the Machrie Moor. I'm actually going to give this to my friend's husband. I'm going to stay with them actually quite soon, and he likes peated whiskey, so I got this one. Because the distillery will no longer be making peated whiskies, this one is no longer going to be produced, but I bought it to try. The distillery also produced something called Arran Gold, I believe it's called, and there is an ice cream with this in it on the island. And basically this is like Bailey's, if you've ever tried that before. So it's like a creamy liqueur. Oh, it smells really good. I can't wait to try that later on. If you've watched my videos before, you'll know exactly where these will be going. Into my whiskey storage cabinet. In you go! This is the one that I got from the Lagg distillery. So some of you were asking, like, where are the Islay whiskies? Like, they're long gone. It's been like 6 months since I went to Islay, so the Islay ones are long gone. In the distillery, they sell so many nice things, so I got this for my friend, an Isle of Arran coaster. How cute is that? I'm just driving around the north side of the Isle of Arran, and the views are out of control. Look at that. Oh, so nice. The views as I was driving were very impressive, and I saw more seals as I drove along the eastern coast. My last day on the Isle of Arran, the weather is incredible, and there's something I really want to do before I leave the Isle of Arran, and that is reach the top of Goatfell, which is the highest hill on the Isle of Arran, and the hike starts from here. So let's get going. Here is the start of the hike for Goatfell Mountain to the summit and back, 4 to 5 hours. So my first impressions is that the hike is very well signposted. There's lots of signs like this directing you where to go. So I've been hiking for around 30 minutes and I'm coming out of the woodland area and I'm getting my first glimpse of Goatfell in the distance. Wow. Goatfell is considered a corbett, of which there are 222 in Scotland. Corbetts are hills between the heights of 2,500 feet and 3,000 feet. So I know a lot of you will be thinking that is photoshopped behind me, but no, it's actually real. This is Scotland. And I think this is what many people imagine when they think of Scotland, is these huge big mountains. I'm reaching quite a steep point now where we're going to ascend up Goatfell, but as I'm standing here, I'm starting to get quite panoramic views each way. It's really, really stunning. It's really windy and cloudy on the way up. It's quite a steep ascent, as you can see behind me here, but so far it is manageable. Okay everyone, I think I've made it to the top of Goatfell. I can see the trig point, I think that's what it's called. We made it to the top of Goatfell and every direction around me is clouds. I don't even think you can probably see me. It's probably so hard. I'm sure the views are amazing when there's no clouds. It's pretty windy up here at the top of Goatfell, but there are lots of boulders and rocks that you can shelter behind, which is good. I'm going to head back down the hill now, and I've left the best thing for last. The uphill hike took me about 3 hours with frequent stops, while the return hike took around 90 minutes. Nearby here, there's something else I really want to see before I finish my time on Arran. This is something I've seen photos of and it looks so incredible. So I'm going to head there next. I've just parked up and I've arrived at the start of the walk to Rosa. I'm not very sure what the correct pronunciation is. Wow, I did not expect this when I started walking up the valley. It is amazing. I've been travelling around Arran for the last few days and I didn't see any views like this. Coming down here and seeing this is such a surprise. Wow. I have arrived here at the Blue Pools. So this is a place that many people walk to come and see, and it's a popular spot for swimming as well. That was so cold. So cold. I think my bones are cold. After my swim, it started raining. I don't know if that's a sign for me to go back. So I actually think I will go back. There's one more place I want to go, and I want to go there to finish my time on the Isle of Arran. I next headed to the parlour in Brodick, which was recommended to me by a local. They serve pizzas and stock the Arran ice cream. I tried the Arran Gold ice cream, which was really great. I walked outside of the restaurant. It's been pouring since I finished the hike up Glen Rosa. I was about to cross the road to come to the car park where my van is parked, and a huge truck went past, drove through a puddle, and there was a tsunami that basically soaked me. It soaked me. All my clothes are absolutely soaked. Oh my god, it's so funny. Anyway, that's the end of my time on the Isle of Arran. Hi everyone, good morning. I'm going to share what's happening because this could happen if you come to a Scottish island. I was due to leave tonight from Brodick to go back to Ardrossan on mainland Scotland, and the ferry booking was at 7:20 p.m. But yesterday I got a message saying, due to weather conditions, your booking has now been cancelled, and the next time that they can give me is on Sunday. So it's Thursday today, so the next available ferry is on Thursday, basically 72 hours later. So I called, and luckily I was able to go on the first ferry out on Thursday morning, which is now, and overnight the weather has turned really bad. It's been really windy, really rainy. I actually woke up during the night in the camper van because it was so loud, the rain on the camper van. I was pretty much one of the first ones in the queue when the check-in opened So I've come through, but I've just received a text message saying your travel from Brodick to Ardrossan is now diverted to Goatfell. So I've heard of Goatfell, I think it's near Glasgow. I need to check, but it will depart at 8:30 and you will arrive at 11:15. So now the journey, instead of being 1 hour to go to Ardrossan, is going to be 2 hours 45. And then I received another message just now saying this booking's cancelled. Your booking's been cancelled due to adverse weather. They're still letting cars in, but I don't know what's going on. It's a little bit worrying because I really need to get back onto mainland Scotland. I have an appointment I need to go to. I'm going to Glasgow and I really need to get there. I really hope we're going to go today, and I'm going to check now, where is Goatfell? Wow, I guess it's closer to Glasgow. So the guy working at the check-in, he said to me, you're very lucky to get on this ferry this morning. So it maybe is very popular because lots of people need to catch the ferry. Okay, they're starting to load the cars onto the ferry. Time to go. A very grey and dreich morning. So here's us coming into Goatfell. Weather is very grey, but the sea's quite flat actually, and the crossing was not too bad at all. Getting off the ferry. Okay, we're in Goatfell. I've had an incredible time exploring the Isle of Arran. If you're thinking of visiting Arran, I've pinned all the spots I explored on my Scotland Google map. My Scotland Google map includes over 200 pins of places I've personally visited and recommend in Scotland. I'm regularly updating the map as I visit new places. You can access it by joining my Patreon page, or you can find it on my website. Thanks for watching the video today, and see you next time.